Hello guys, welcome back to more D-Lang programming today. Today we're going to be programming some more D-Lang stuff. Let me get my amazing IDE open. My IDE wide open. Set it up like typically, how we typically run the IDE, for the streams at least. Oh, this is good enough. Alright, so this one. Okay. I discovered how to use Kate better. One of the things I did that was definitely an improvement. This is what I was looking at yesterday and showing you all. Very nice program. Let's see. Modified. Do I need to pull? Actually? Should probably pull. Yes, should definitely pull. Whoa! Nothing happened. Alright guys. So this is the program I've been working on, and I started a new branch for it where I'm working on async. Apparently this code is really hard to read for some people, but for the most part, I think the hardest part to read is probably these debug lines that are just leftovers. Honestly, we could get rid of them, I think. But the main thing of importance is actually that I've started to learn how to thread. And today I want to give some examples of how to actually use the spawn keyword or the spawn function. It's a really useful function. It really simplified the code quite a lot because instead of doing task, where you can create a task, you can actually just do spawn and it does pretty much the same thing task does, but in a one-liner. Like, this is literally where we'd have 2 lines for task. This is one single line, and it does pretty much the whole entire thing that you need for token and code. Now, currently it doesn't work. I'm not sure why. Potentially because it does not put word in correctly. So what is a word? For each word of words? So auto words is token make input. Then what is words again? Is words a string or what? Token make input. What's up? So then that's token make input. Alright, this takes that, does that, and it should just give you an array for the output, so it doesn't give you a lazy response. It returns output, and output should be a string, because that's what it started as. So if it's a string, it could be a string of cars, I guess. W car, D car, car, something like that. But the main thing is that this part is kind of broken right now. And I want to work on this, trying to get that to work. And I think part of that just comes from that I'm misunderstanding how to do spawn. So each spawn has a TID, and each TID gets appended to this as we run this. So that means workers should track workers, right? So what I guess I should do is put a test line in to test out if workers is actually being generated. I don't remember if we have to call that as an array or what. I'm pretty sure we don't have to. You see, I think the worst part is when stuff doesn't work as you want it to, and then what am I forgetting? Oh wait, this is in a different folder then. Let's see. It's not in there anymore. There should be one that says... There we go. v0. And then we should be able to do dmd host.d. Boom. It compiles it, and then we can just run /host. So you all can see what this actually does. So what we can do is type in our words. And it should actually give us an output. So now the for each loop is creating a new thread for each word that we put in. So it does that. It creates our for each loop. So it does create them, but now it's not doing anything. It's not actually... I suppose I'm misunderstanding how to send and receive works. But also it could be that we are not actually receiving. So it wants to receive int worker ID and the output response. Or the output result, which output is a struct defined up here. So it wants to receive this struct, which is our result, which contains result UTF and result merge arrays. Is, I think, the first thing we should check, but I think it would be checked by the thing. Is it appending these? And then it's actually making that result, right? First thing we should check is that it's making the result. Here, you have to cast it as an immutable because it doesn't expect result to not be immutable. So let's see what happens when we take that out. If you take out the cast immutable, it won't work when you do DMD. See, it expects a immutable result. So it's from that line, the send parent worker ID and then the result. But then it can't send that because it's not immutable. So I guess the way you'd work with this data that you get out is that you would probably put it into another one and then have it that one be mutable, and then get rid of this other struct by deconstructing it somehow. The real question is why it's broken. So result merge appends merge pair. So result merge is an array, but is it appending the merge pair? Well, merge pair should be a result of this. Then it should be appended to that once that's done. So that should be fine. And then is this one also fine? Output is on the outside and this one's on the outside. Okay, so that is fine. And it's taking in string input int worker ID and TID parent. TID parent is referenced here, worker ID also here, as well as several other places in test lines. And then cast immutable result. I think the immutable result is probably part of the issue. I don't think it can actually output the structs. I suppose we should have it... What if it has to be like an immutable output? Like the result should just be a auto result? What if we auto it? Can we auto that? Receive is not callable using types void. I suppose that's part of the issue. If we put auto there, it's a function, so I guess auto does not work for this. I mean, it definitely doesn't work for this. What am I saying? Okay. Do that. If we could debug the lines somehow. I think it's just that they wait and they don't actually send out a response. The response isn't generated when they are waiting. If we could debug them, that'd be useful. Let's put a write line in here. Let's undo this. See if we can get a write line to work. Alright, so it does work, but then the result isn't made. The threads are working, The result isn't being built. Output result equals result UTF result merge. Maybe these need to be declared as arrays. I mean, I'm just gonna give it anything that could potentially be the answer to the problem. Then try that. Well, that's not working. Oh. It does work inside the actual loop. It doesn't actually realize to send back the data. I'm guessing send is part of the issue when we do the send part. Reaches this part, but doesn't send. So what if I can get a different send to work? So like I send 1, and I wait for this one to receive 1 to see if that would work as a testing type of thing. Or we can make another program to test out the actual functionality of it, of how that even works, because spawn and send and receive are all very new to me, so I don't really know what I'm doing necessarily, how things work. But it could also be this. We could try removing the cast immutable portion and see if that helps it send. Maybe the cast immutable has to be done before we actually send it. We're going to remove the part where it receives the worker ID. And that should be good. Alright. Identify a result. We'll just comment that. You know, I can do an inline comment like this. I know how to do this. I've done this before. This is literally the master inline comment right here. Expert level. Then we have to DMD it. You could use GDC if you wanted. Or anything, really. Or LDC, or whatever it was. Okay, so now we have to do the hello world portion to test. It does receive. It does receive. And it sent out that part. So the portion that's fucking it up is the actual struct. And it does it in order, potentially. Let's try... Does it do it in order? No. So we still have to work on that portion, but we're on our way to getting the send and receive parts done. That way we can pull out data from this. Instead of just having that thing be just fucking random shit. And I guess send can be that, and it sends it back to the main program. So that's cool to think that you could technically have multiple programs that communicate with the main one. Oh, wow. Such an interesting thing. Alright, so what we're going to do with this is then we're going to put in I think we're just going to do like, try out hello, or no. We're going to try changing the struct for result. Maybe a class would be better. Class probably, I don't know. I think struct is what we need though. Struct is perfect for this. Like, we could just not do any of that and just have it output the results as is. I'm pretty sure we can do that instead of having it do the other thing. We can get rid of this struct, it's not needed. And then we can put in, what was it? The actual arrays in here. It increases the amount of shit that has to be passed through, but then we can still manage that. So those are the result merge. We can get rid of this because there's no longer a output struct for that. And then we can put in result merge since they're on the outside and result UTF. Okay, that works. What the hell? Oh, god damn it. Merge. Yep, there we go. Alright, so then we do the same thing here, is we would receive that after worker ID. And you have to put in what these are, so they are going to be ints. I'm guessing the way this works is the reason you declare these as int arrays inside of your receive is that you have to account for the fact that it's not been declared in the main area. So that's part of why we have to have it like this. This is obviously a testing line. Then to do the right line, we need to do this. What did I just do? Oh, I think I just turned down the brightness somehow. Oh. The weird thing is result merge equals merge pair. That's correct. So it's declared right before. That's correct. It's declared and then appended. Okay. And oh, it doesn't need any of that. It already has the int portion. Get rid of these. I did say it was a little bit of time. There we go. So now I should be able to compile it and actually have it run. Static assert aliases to mutable thread data are not allowed. Mutable. Oh. I think I know what the problem is that it doesn't have a static array. And you can't make a static array for something that you can't actually have a that of. So I wonder if we could potentially create a struct with a size that so the data on these is immutable. This is the problem that happens when you have mutable data, is then when you're trying to get it to send mutable data through this, you have to cast it as immutable. So we have to cast them. And that's not going to do anything good for this, because I think that's what causes the problem. Unless we do the immutable portion where we cast them both to immutable beforehand. And result merge. I think we need to do this before we actually go in the loop. Because that probably was the issue we were having last time. UFT, why is it UFT not UTF? Merge. Alright, so it's going to cast immutable. There's a UFT somewhere that's causing issues. Who knows? Undefined identifier immutable. Okay, that explains why it doesn't work in that. Immutable? Did I just type immutable? Is it mutable? Wow. That explains why it wasn't working. It's supposed to be purple. Alright, let's go ahead and close. Int result has no effects. I guess we have to create these equal to something, and then we could put them in a struct, so I don't have to do as much bullshit. Create a new struct called output again. Alright, so then we'll create a struct called output, and then create it with 2 arrays on there. So we'll have int, and it will be UTF, and, or, yeah, what is it? Result UTF and result merge. I'm gonna go back to the struct method, because I think I know what's going on. It's not got anything to do with the rest of that, it's just got to do with the arrays. Results merge. So even though, like, all of that, like, you'd think it'd work, but it's not even the issue. The issue is making the actual struct immutable inside the line. It's not a thing we can do, I think. Output, results, just result, and then equals output, and then the 2 variables, results UTF and results merge. So that makes our struct, and it creates a struct called result per each time it runs, meaning it will probably overrun. No, each program creates their own struct. Technically, I could say that it's TID and then create the thread ID as the actual result ID, maybe? Or result main? I think that'd be an interesting way of doing it, but I'm not actually sure if that would work. That will be output here, and it will just be result. And then instead of that, we'll have output result, and then get rid of the rest of this. Reason we want to do this way is to simplify the fact that we got 2 arrays going through the thing. Then we're going to cast it to immutable. If I can figure out how to use cast to do that. Where is that? Right here. I guess we could put immutable in front of it. Immutable. Mixin expected. I don't really know how to use this. And I think we need to reference the book for that. Mutability. No, cast is what we're looking for. Cast? Cast has the answers. Cast is what we're looking for. Whew. Cast operator. The cast operator does stuff. It's great. So int p when converting to and from pointer types. Huh. No, my conversions are mostly in safe direction. Assume unique. to conversion. The to function, which we to string, can actually be used for many types. It's complete the following: to destination type value. For fast immutable conversions. Oh! Hold on. What if we made them immutable by using immutable slice 2 and then immutable int array slice? No. I guess we make them so that if we add them in the struct as immutable, then I don't think you can change them. Wait, let's save that. Immutable result. Maybe it wants me to put this like this and then have it all in one. No. Auto immutable, two immutable. I think the actual arrays have to be mutable though. So when we create this, it'll be fine. Okay, so what we're gonna do is put some space here, and then in the middle of that, that's where we're gonna do our immutability conversion. So then I guess we do to cast to immutable. Cast destination type and then value. So for that, actually, we could do. I guess what we do is we do like this result merge, and then we cast it by doing cast immutable result merge. And I might want to just make a function for that, because we're going to use that both times. Although it might be useless. Actually, no, it'd be super useful to have a function that handles immutable conversion. Boom. And that should be a function as well. Although that might exit out of like the main loop, or this function, to actually add another function called a void. Do I want to do that? I mean, it's kind of like a struct almost. Actually, most of the things in D are pretty similar to structs. Variables, struct, pretty much arrays, struct. Class, struct. I mean, they have some slight differences with the structs and classes, but pretty much just a struct. Classes are more like a reference, though, or more like not a reference, but no, wait, actually, they are like a reference. You can just be like, oh, type in this stuff. You can be like, class, and then be like, class.class in your code, class.function, and stuff like that. You can have object-oriented programming, but it's, I don't know why you'd want it. I don't know if it's actually worthwhile to do that. 'Cause I don't know how that function would work. I mean, yeah, let's go ahead and not do that. That can be a later problem to have a function. If like we use it more than twice, I think it's worthwhile. If we have to use this 3 times, I think we're gonna have to use it 3 times. Result UTF. There we go. And then we should be able to do this. Alright, cannot implicitly convert expression immutable result UTF, mutable int to int. Okay. So does that mean I just get rid of that? Oh. Hold on. Maybe this will help it. Alright, so there we go. We got 2 of those. Yes, aliases to mutable thread data not allowed. Word and count. Let's see. Receive worker ID, output, and result UTF. Wait. Why is that result UTF? There we go. Figured it. Figured out. Okay. That's part of the problem was solved. But then these casts need to be fixed. Casting, bro. I'm guessing you could. It doesn't need to be casted like this, or it needs to be casted in another variable. For example, we do like result M and result U, which means that it makes those, but they don't exist anywhere. So let's just try casting them as that. Or we go to the struct and actually put them in as casts, like that. So that way when it does the struct, constructs that, it'll just do those. Copy this. I think this will do. That should be better than what we were doing before. Although I'm not really sure how to use cast immutable that well. Cannot implicitly convert expression immutable int result UTF to type immutable int array to int. Then this needs to be the fucking immutable. 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 Yeah, right. Maybe it actually, yeah, no, it needs to be this. That works. That will give us what we're looking for, I think. Oh, closer. To multiple thread data, local data not allowed. Results. Send that. So it sends that and result UTF and result merge. We can just send result. Now we can, now that will work. Yep. /host. Hello world. The expected result is that it stops. Got it. That's perfect. Damn, I'm cooking with this shit today. Damn, I actually fucking did something on stream for once. And there's our outputs. It gives you 2 outputs. Now we just have to get it to be in sync, like synchronized in order. So if I have, for example, host and then, like, let's just type in a bunch of words. It's all out of order still. And that's something I want to fix because I think you can do join to get them to work together, but we want to get them in order. And that's where this TID comes in. So it should do the TID. We could use TID array to like put them in order, I guess, based on their TID. So if we added a TID area to our actual original thing. Let's go ahead and comment that line too, just to see that it works without that. I mean, it does stop, and it was just a immutability problem, so. Test it. There we go. So that gives us that. I guess we really don't need to have the ID on these anymore, because, I mean, they have a TID, and we should expect the TID to be in the order that they come back. Or if we were to take the 0 and say that we put them in order based on that, we could technically, for each of that, we need to make a string that is, we could overwrite the TID workers. Like, technically we don't need this, but no, actually we do need that. That's just to store them, because they are technically a struct of some kind. Or no, what the hell? It's like a function that appends them to, I don't understand how a function is appended to. Oh, I guess it's just taking the ID, because TID is a special structure or like thing, special variable. And everything has it, even this thing has a TID, in fact. So if you have a TID here, then that's also important, because like you can take the host TID, right? Like you see in that function where we call the results, or where we create the, what is it? Where's that? Where is it hiding at? Merge pair? No, it's in the one before that. It's in void. So in void, you can see that we call a token encode, right? And token encode, that's, where's it at? Oh, here it is. It takes the TID of the and assigns it to parent. So TID is declared here, and it's as this TID, which gives you the parent ID. So the main program can actually put its ID into the other ones, so that way they know to send it to this one, because as you can see at the end here, it sends to parent ID, which is that last one. So, but the question is, how then do I put them in order? Because when we for each it, that's getting us our output and stuff. So we receive it, then we need to append all of this information to some kind of array as well, but do it based in order. So we're going to create an array for the outputs. So we're going to create an output array. An output array. And that's going to be where we're going to append our result. And we're going to do it based off of the worker ID. That's not how you do that. And then we just have to write it once. We don't have to do the write line every single time. And that will put it in order. Actually, this is just a debug line. Let's go ahead and cut that and put it back. I'm going to leave behind all of the debug lines in case we need them in the future. Until we're satisfied with how it works. And so for each of those, it's going to put the result. It needs to append result into the order, and then append equals result. Now, output order is an array of the struct. Okay, that will be fine. And then it appends result each time. But it doesn't append it, because that's going to give it out of order anyway. So what we do is the order, and then boom, that. And then we create, I guess we could set this to equal the length of TID. So order dot length equals the length of workers. So that gives us that. That will allow us to actually put the result in based on this, even though it's a dynamic array, since our input's dynamic, it's potentially changing. And so then we just have to put order of I, or worker ID actually. And that should give us what we're looking for. Then we just have to do that and put a right line to actually get that result out. Which pretty much simulates that they are all in sync, even though technically they're not in sync at all. And in fact, this may have overcomplicated. I think I could have done the same thing with task, but I think spawn might be better, because spawn allows things to communicate from what the book told me. The D-Lang book. Amazing. We're gonna just write the line for order. Order? Dude, can you teach me Lua? I don't know any Lua, man. If only I knew Lua. Cannot modify order worker ID. Oh. I see. Maybe I could just create some kind of... Oh, wait. Yeah, I don't understand why this is going on. But also, you can't make an array of... Okay. Wait. This is not, it's not mutable. So, when we're trying to set it equal to the result, creating an array of order is or of output is a bad idea. But there's not really a struct that can hold output. Unless we create a struct for output. Like a struct that's available to be used as an array for output. That would be stupid. Wait, no, that'd be dumb. Because if I create a struct for an array of output, it's just going to have an array of output in there. Unless we create another one called output mutable. And then output immutable. So, but then we'd have to set the output to... output mutable would have to be... This shit's terrible. So it says, cannot modify struct for instance order cast ulong of type output because it does not, it contains const or immutable members, which is what we have. So once they're immutable, can't change immutable, so then of course I think we have to create a new struct that has the members, but is mutable. So I think we have to use cast. I think. Cast it back to the struct. This is gonna be weird. We're gonna have to... So we're gonna take the result, cast the result to a mutable, and then have another struct to handle that? I suppose. I'll just get started making the struct first. Instead of just talking about what I think I need to do, I should actually just be testing it. Output mutable. Essentially what immutability is that it's, you can't change things if they're immutable. If it's immutable, not something you can change, but if it's mutable, you can change it. So it's kind of a data safety thing. Some functions have that in it, so in this case we have to also have cast immutable and stuff. Which is a kind of a big part of D is the mutability. So then we have to cast result to the mutable version. Right? Because then we can cast to output mutable. Or we could attempt to set it equal to output mutable. or set output mutable. Actually, no. It will have a problem when you try to cast it to the mutable version. Regardless, so... Is there even a keyword for mutable? How do you handle that? I think we have to go to the immutability chapter, because this will have a lot of the answers I'm looking for. Mutable keywords, although 2 words have the same meaning. Okay. Mutable variables, which is like enum. Enum is immutable. You can't change enum after you've done enumeration. Immutability, type of, string of. Keep going. Let's see. Const parameters. A constant is immutable because it's a constant. Then a mutable int. So how do you change them? Type conversions, maybe. Type conversions? I could just take a dupe of it and append that. Bro, working with these immutable things are pain. I suppose we would just append the output result and then put the... Goddamn, this is pain. Alright, maybe we'll put output mutable right here, right? And then we'll try to take a dupe. But that's a thing you can only really do with strings, is take a dot dupe property. I don't know if it will work, but we'll try dot result dot dupe. Well, there isn't a dot dupe function in my struct. I don't know how that's gonna work, but that has worked in the past. Yeah, I figured that wouldn't work, so let's not even bother reading the results of this. Yes, so none of the overloads of template object.dupe are callable using arguments. It doesn't have a .dupe function, clearly, but that doesn't matter. Just matters in that case example. Oh, let's try this now. Cannot implicitly convert to output mutable. Okay. So then... equals result, maybe? Am I setting result equal to it? I don't think that's... I think that's just getting moved over. We could try cast. Like cast and then mutable. Is that a thing? No, mutable. Damn. Type conversions, though. Immutable, enum, assert. That's to check things. Explicit immutable conversions. Automatic conversions are not available for immutable conversions. If such a conversion is known to be safe, the programmer can explicitly ask for a type conversion by one of the following methods. So the standard conv.to function. Okay. I guess we're gonna put that in. So to, oh, okay, here we go. To destination type. So then we have to do to the and then our destination type and then value. But it also says what model or what thing is that? Or what module is that? Yeah, it says that. This might be the answer. Standard.conv.to function. So is it in that? I guess standard.conv. Well, I'll give it a shot. Put it in the top here. Somewhere. put it here. Then 2, or actually it said .2. Yeah, they'll just try that out. I'm sure it won't find this, and then I'll be like, okay, we'll put a dot there. If it doesn't find that, we'll just put a dot. Standard.conv.2. Alright, so then we can do 2. Can you tell me what are we doing? We're working on this code to make it work. So basically I have a send and a receive, and the send has to be mutable or immutable is what we figured out. Then we want to receive that and then convert it to a mutable, so it's actually useful. And then we can actually add it into this order, which then puts it in order and then writes it out, which is almost done, I think. 2 and then result. And I guess just put 2 order, or no, 2 the struct output mutable. Yep, that's it. And then we could put a result. I think that's what it needs. Let's check. Scroll down to 2. I don't know if 2 can handle this, but there's also assert or auto. And then, oh, okay. Can perform immutable conversions as well. And I suppose that's what we want, right? If this works, I'd be surprised. Holy shit. Okay. With output mutable, so it doesn't want to do that. It doesn't want to do that because it's not something it can do. Maybe it won't handle these. So, immutable struct, bad idea. Kind of works, but not a good idea for this. But also, it makes it really simple, because when we had it working, it gave us some really easy to read outputs, which I like, but they're not mutable, so I mean, that's not very useful. So there's other options though. It said, assume unique for fast immutable conversions. In order to guarantee that the elements of immutable slice will never change. Okay, sometimes then cast, both to and assume unique make use of. Well, we've already came up with cast. Oh, wait, I could just do cast output. Wait a second, my brain's just kicked in. Holy shit. Cast, and then output mutable, and then put my result afterwards. That should actually be able to take it and do that right. Pretty sure that's how it works. So here we create those. And then here we're going to undo it by casting it to output mutable. Holy shit. How does that work? Well, let's figure it out. It's going to break. I'm guaranteeing that it's going to break on the first try. Yeah, I figured it would do something like that? No. And are those in order? Is the real question. And so if you're wondering what the rest of the code does, it pretty much just converts strings into tokens, which we'll use later for something, and also creates or pairs some of them. For example, we had two 108s, so it gave this return. And I think what we could do is actually remove the two 108s and then just put this one back in their place, I think. Would be a great idea for the actual program. So if we have the two 108s, we find the index of them. Somehow create a new one where the fucking 108s go. So we would take the first... that's something I have to think of, but I'll have to put that down as a note to do that later. That way we just have the two paired in there. Obviously 216 isn't a UTF code that will look familiar, so... If you have hello world, the two L's return 108 and then boom. As a programmer, at first I saw D-Lang programming language. Yeah. It's D-Lang. It's kind of like C++ or like C but like different with fun stuff. And a garbage collector too. It's pretty interesting. Merge pair. Are you building any driver? No. Not yet. I'm not sure. For like, what do you mean, like, what do you mean by driver? For right now, I'm just just working on this stuff. I don't know what the driver would be for. Kind of confused. So let's take this and put a note somewhere in here. I don't think we need these test things anymore. I think I can get rid of all of these tests. I think that's what I want to do. Yeah, I'm going to get rid of these tests. Because they really just clutter everything. Okay. The debug line here can stay, I think, because that might be important later. I think that should be it. So then we have our structs, and then I'm gonna make that spaced out just to make it look better. Alright. For the merge, we need to add another function after merge pair is complete that does add another function after merge pair to handle merging we can have that D-Lang suitable for developing operating systems, drivers, and in general low-level coding on the system. Yeah, I think that's what they intended it for, but honestly, it's pretty nice. I like it. For the output of Hello World 104, 101, 108. I'm gonna use it for stuff it's not intended to, though. I'm using it for stuff it's definitely not intended to do. Maybe eventually I'm gonna make a runtime. That's one of the things I want to do, but I've been so focused on making this tokenizer thingy that I don't know. I've actually been having fun with this program and I've put a lot of time into it. (108, 108, 111). Okay. Actually, I'll just copy this in there. And then 216 should just be those two 108s. That way it's kind of, oh, what the fuck? That way I know to do this later. Because I'll forget otherwise. Then do 216 in the middle. I think this will have to be done in some weird way, but I think I could probably learn some new function trying to do this. I'm sure there's a function I don't know about that actually will provide the type of capabilities we need to switch out 108, the two 108s for a 216 in there. And then we have to create a dictionary system, which will probably take some time. Then it will make the casting a little bit easier, and it'll become a lot less... Oh, I just realized I've been doing it wrong. But it'll make the casting easier because I'll only have to output one array anyway. So I won't have to have a struct for it. I'm actually going to probably write this whole thing as like a fucking essay. Goddamn. Just put it a note, but now I'm writing an essay. Damn. I guess that's how it is sometimes, I guess. Sometimes you'll just be programming, you'll be like, oh man, I won't have time to do this right now, but I'll have time to do it later, and then next thing you know, you'll have a fucking essay where you have all your notes at. Then remove the thingy or the struct to, and send one array. I guess that's a really good advantage to this. We could try doing that right now, but I want to mess around with this more just to make sure that everything works as intended. Then enter. Enter. There we go. Alright, so I think you were trying to bypass the GC bottleneck. GC bottleneck, what is that? Oh, garbage collector, I guess. Right. Am I? What? Oh, maybe the mutability? I don't know. I think it works. It works, but I don't know about the rest of that. Let's try doing multiple words, because usually hello world would output as expected anyway. Which gives us this, if I pull it out. Yeah, it creates those. Creates them in a loop, though. I just want one output for all of them, I think. Yeah. Let's go ahead and clear that. So it does this in the for each loop or something? Or is this in a nested loop somehow? It shouldn't be writing out them all. When it receives, does it write them out, maybe? Maybe that's what's going on? So write ln order. Oh, it is in the for each loop. My bad, I messed that up. Cut that. Then boom. Let's get that other one out of the for each loop, so that way we don't have that writing 1,000 times. Because having that write 1,000 times is not pretty at all. These are just kind of debug lines, honestly. Boom. Oh, what the hell am I doing? That looks way better. Then it gives you 2 output mutables. Creates an array of structs. Super useful now. Although it'd be nice if it didn't say output mutable before each output mutable in the array. Which is also an array of arrays, or like a struct of arrays. This is like the most weird thing I think I've ever done. But also works, so I mean, who's complaining? Probably me, honestly. So I just cast the immutable ones to these, and then boom. So to make it even simpler, we can get rid of that struct, as I put here. All we need to do is add a another int function. So I suppose we'll just leave the note there for now, so that way I can remember what exactly the behavior is. What we need to do is take the merge pair output, like the merge pair, and we need to remove it. Or actually, that could just be an adjustment to that entire code. So if it finds 2 of the same, just replace the original output with the merge pair. So if it finds 2 of the same, if output I and they both equal that, then it needs to put, that needs to go to output, which is declared up here, so it's going to be pretty much throughout the thing. All we have to do is put output, and then we have to get rid of this, and put that at the end. So that will decrease the number of random structs and arrays and things that I don't need to really have there to make the code better. Because that's a lot of memory and stuff. We wouldn't have to have all these things doing dumbness. Get rid of the structs, which also should simplify the immutability casting. So all I have to do is cast an array and then append the array to an array. So that will become a int array for the output mutable. It will become int order, which will take a cast to int, or actually, yes, cast to int array result, which will be order and then worker ID. Or actually, no, just cast to int. Oh, actually do it to but then we have to append an array to an array still. Or append a struct to struct. Or, who knows. I think you can append arrays to an array. I might do it as a struct, so I'll leave this one. Then this one will go away. So that will be that. And this will be the result. This will become result. It'll stay as output mutable for now. So boom, result is going to be that. Which still means we have to make... I want to get rid of all of these. I'm going to leave it there just in case we need it, but I don't think we're going to... Then it's going to create output as the result. Right? So it takes an output. So it's going to take int. I don't know if we're going to be able to put an int array into an int array. Unless we did like some kind of... I don't know if that's possible. I haven't done that before. Okay, we'll try that. We'll give it a shot. Just see what happens. Where is the rest of it at? So with this, the logic is going to have to flow into my brain cells. But we need to do... Creates merge pair. Merge pair is going to be not existent. We don't need merge pair. What we need to do is get rid of the 2 indexes and replace them as 1 index. So what we'll do is create the output, and then we can just remove any empty spaces. I'm not sure how to do that. We might have to just type that into our search engine to figure that out. Or check the book. One of those two. And then this will be the output of I. The next output will be shifted to be the I plus 2. Yeah, that would work. I suppose what we could do is just shift them down and then, or decrease the output.length every time it detects one. So that would be one way of doing it. And instead of appending, we just set it equal to that, which is weird, but this is how the logic's gonna work in this case. And then we have to do output shift all of the outputs over. Or no, output I plus 2, we just get rid of that index. Or we wait for it to finish and remove all empty spaces afterwards. We could also do a for each loop that handles that. So for each index that's empty, we just get rid of it. Or shift all the other ones over. We could also add an if statement in here, or like an else, or like another if statement wouldn't hurt. We could put an if statement in here that just checks if it's empty, and if it's empty, then it just moves the next one over, I suppose. And this usually breaks things when you try doing these if statements in here. But we'll see. We'll try it out. Output of I equals nothing. Or actually, and it needs to set the output of I plus 1 to 0. In this case, so that will be plus 1 equals 0. Or no, what the fuck? Oh yeah, the output of I plus 1, then do your equals 0 on the outside. And that's gonna handle that, so that will pretty much make the next one to 0. And then if the output of I equals 0, then we handle that here. So if it's on the one that equals 0, then it just does the I equals the next one and moves it over. But then there's a potential that it won't check them. So it would need to stop the sequence and go back to the top and reiterate. Oh, fucking hell. No, we can't do that. Or we shift the entire array somehow, which is such a weird thing to do. It'd be the simplest, would be like the most efficient way of doing it, I think. Instead of doing a bunch of if statements. Somehow shift the array. I plus 1, so we need to take a slice I plus 2, or slice starting from our original output. And this just was supposed to merge them. But that will put it in there. I mean, I guess we could test it right now, like that. And then figure it out later. Yandere maxing, more if statements. Nah, I'm good. Less if statements, please. Less if functions. If. So, okay, now we can get rid of this. We can get rid of that entire thing. But we still need to cast the result to mutable. So, that's no longer a thing that we need to do. Because we don't need an array. Or do we? Oh, alright, so we'll just call this result. And then result appends output. Why would it append output each time? Why would it do this? So this does that. Then this does the number stuff, which is not finished here. So result append output. And why not just cast output to immutable and then just send that out, right? Cast immutable output, and then output just goes down to here. But that's got to be done inside of this. Can be done here. Cast immutable output. Need to get rid of that second semicolon. Nice, that even decreases the length. So that works, because cast immutable output should be perfect. Then down here in the receiving statement, it needs to output. It needs to create takes an int array output, which is in fact what we're looking for, and then casts to int output and appends it to, or no, sets it onto this order worker ID, which is just going to be an array of integer arrays. Should be ready to go. Cannot implicitly convert of type int to int, which just means that either the immutability is a problem or it's trying to convert it to a regular integer, which is what it would be doing here. So we need to create a struct for that. So we'll do output, output mutable. Still. Output mutable. Tab. That should do it. Oh, wait. What is this doing? So it was trying to put it to an array of integers. And then order worker ID, and then it wants to put it onto this, but that's not going to work. I know why that's not going to work, because that's not how structs are declared. So if I had a struct, I'd be like the struct output mutable array of order. That's not going to. We could just do an int array, so we could use like a, and then put another int in there. I'm pretty sure, to have an int array of int arrays. I'm pretty sure that works. I don't know if that works dynamically, but we'll see how that ends up. Order.length, because it's not a L value. Order.length equals workers.length. Cannot implicitly convert expression of worker ID to const int. Oh, right. Yes. So that would be a constant. And then I would need to actually put the order right there. But that is kind of... So this is called an associative array. Very interesting that that's happening. But yes, this should be pretty simple to fix. Either that, or we need to actually put them in the struct. But I'm gonna remove the struct. I don't think we need this. So we're gonna get rid of that, because that just overcomplicates the code and puts more stuff into memory, which we don't need. Then we just want to get the output for now to see that it just produces a space there between the two numbers, which will just be empty. And then we need a code that cleans that up, or create a function that cleans it up. But that can be done later. So order worker ID equals cast int. And this also is not how that works, because it's an associative array. Right. But you can create an associative array. I need to look at associative arrays again, because I'm getting confused on how these work. Hit that associative array. So you can have a string of day names, right? But then you could also have an int string of day numbers. Or day numbers, Monday. And the way these work is that you have this being a word that corresponds to the actual index, basically. But you can also do... There should be one that says int. Or like double or something. Or because you can do that, I believe. Or I could be wrong. So we have int. Wait, let's just go up to where he declares it, just so I can see exactly how he does it. Because I'm not very familiar with these. Int, or he does string day names up there, but here's int string day numbers. And then to declare it, you would do day numbers, and then the index of it, or the number. So if we have an int array, that doesn't work. But this would just be making this would just be making a regular array. That's pretty useless. You could add to a struct the output, or if you had a static inside of a struct, that would work. But we don't have we're not going to do that. Let's just try, so let's do append an array onto this at the worker ID. And then it tries to convert that to an int. Even though that's not going to work because it's an array. Maybe a tuple, like a tuple. Tuples are familiar. But I think you can do it with associate arrays. String grades. I don't know where he covers it at though, because I don't remember. What if there's int? I could just control F and see if there's int. So there's auto numbers. Maybe I should auto the actual thing. Create an auto order. Auto order equals cast, and then boom. But then that wouldn't be right. Also, now we can actually just append. So that would simplify it. We could append it to the order, which would create a sentence again. If I wanted a sentence. But we just wanted to take the words apart, so that way we can get the context from those. So appending would just make a sentence. We don't want that. We also, let's see what it says when I try to do DMD host ID. So yeah, we're so close. We just got one thing to fix. And the problem is that output is an integer array. To add it to a regular integer array is probably not something I'm capable of doing. Unless I did like int, but then it creates an associative array which returns this shit. I think that's closer though. Of type int to constant int array. So, oh, I know. So you do int array, and then boom, right? To do this, then we have this goes inside of a second set of these, and then it's just gonna work somehow. Never mind. Wait. With immutable keys, not values, not int. Int dynamic. Oh. That doesn't work because it's dynamic. Shit. Alright, well that's close. Either we would need to set the number as it comes in, but that's not going to work because this is not a language that you can do that with. Worker ID. Either we could just cast it to output, right? So cast it to an int output, another integer array, and then we would take it to the next one. So we would do append it to a struct with a static, probably. Okay. I didn't want to make another struct, but struct for arrays. Then we'll call this one struct array handler. Yeah, I like that word, handler. It sounds funny. Like what's it called? Access transformer. And then this, we'll just add a static static, and then int, and then boom. Right? No, you wouldn't do a static int. What the hell? I'm gonna have to, at this time, I'm gonna have to search for the answer deep inside my soul. Array of arrays. Dealing. Array of arrays are primarily categorized into jagged arrays, dynamic arrays, or dynamic arrays. What? Pointer T. What the hell? Jagged array. It's a dynamic array of dynamic arrays, allowing each inner array to have a different, so you can't have multiple arrays? I suppose that's great for like 2D games, I guess. But that's not what I want. Or we could put like a 0 for an index, and then we have to have a reader program to resplit them. But I don't want to have to go through the whole resplitting up the program process. What are these fucking... Bro, what the fuck is all this shit? Storing arrays in... what is it? Oh, shit. Storing arrays in an array. Examples. Java. Is this Java? Oh god. Fucking hate Java, bro. It looks like C. C sharp. Bro, it's basically C sharp. Oh god. Int and then store array. Well, I mean that's Java though. Store all array? Oh. Oh. But let's try dealing. Jagged arrays? I guess jagged arrays are what we need. Int. I suppose there's no good way of doing that. Unless we did it as struct. It worked with the struct because the struct took the array. I mean, we should be able to put it in something, but it's just a matter of figuring out how to do that. So do we just do int of int? An integer array of integer arrays. Or can we just do an int with 2 of those? That's how that works? So then I can put it inside of the worker ID? What the hell? It's gonna cache an exception. Hello world. Oh, what the fuck? It's broken again. Alright, so that's cool. I think... So it gets through all that. Does it... Do we have the test strings anymore? We do have this one still. So does it do this whole process, right? It should be doing that process right now. That's gone. Alright, then switch it for output. Unless it can't do the math anymore, which could be a potential issue. Control X. Or Control C. I think it could be the issue that's not doing more math. Or that's not doing math anymore, but... I don't think that's the case. Or what is this? That's why. That's inside this area. Alright, so then we need to look inside the actual function itself. I don't know, there's no more. I guess we could do write ln output, since these are all technically void. Doesn't even get to output. So what is it doing? I'm guessing each of the threads it creates catches the exception. I should have committed that other one, but I didn't. Unfortunate. Alright, so let's try to think through what it's doing. So it's doing all of that, gets to here, and it has to cast an immutable output. So if I need to create another one that's going to be called int array. We'll call it result. Why not? Result, right? So you need to not do it in this last statement. It can't be done here. That's the thing we learned with the structs. So that's part of why it's not working as expected. So then we just put a result here. It should then expect to get a result at the bottom. What is this? Oh. So then at the bottom we should expect to receive results from that. Boom, result and result. And then that should give us our array of results. Okay. But we can declare this as an immutable int. So that happens. And that's done. That slash hosts. And then... What's up? How's it going? Alright, so that doesn't want to do anything because it doesn't want to send the result over. So we've got the result made, but then it doesn't even get past... Where is it stopping? Is it stopping at here? We'll put a right line at each of these points. Here, diagnosing it. Diagnosing the problem. Actually. Oh, right. I forgot to put it in a string. Here. It stops at here. That's where the... No, it doesn't stop there. So it gets through this part perfectly. Then it starts to have issues at the next one. So I'm guessing it gets stuck in this loop. Or it doesn't. We're gonna put a here too. And then if it gets there, that's important. And if it gets to this here that we're gonna put right here, paste. That will also tell us a lot. It makes it to here too, but the second one doesn't get there. Let's test if it's a problem with word length. Well, they're both 5-letter words. It's hello world, and that should be... The second one doesn't... One of them doesn't make it to that other one. Wait, but the first one, the hello of world, right? That first one doesn't get through it because it catches the exception here to comma output, and then put an ID in there, comma worker ID. So that should tell me whether it's this one or the other one that's having the issue. So it makes it through the first one fine, but then the second one's the issue. Potentially to do with hello having 2 L's. Here 2 returns, here 1 doesn't. What is here 1 doing? Because it makes it to there. This just needs to be before everything else. Or actually, no, it only returns after it finishes every single output, probably. But the logic's probably wrong. So the output of I equals the output... That is if the output of I equals the output of I plus 1. Then put that into the output of I. And put the combination of I plus 1 and that into I. Then it should continue the loop. But it doesn't account for... So I think before it does that, it should shrink the actual thing. I'm kind of confused. Oh, sorry, I didn't see your message. My bad. But, hello, my friend. What's up? Should take... My brain is fried from looking at this for too long. So here to... So if I did it with, just do world and world, that will work. No. And that's the result you expect, but then it has that there. So we need to get rid of that. The next one needs to be shifted. And if it has the results of the next one. Boom. Alright. Yeah, that's what's going on. Alright, I see how this is working. We'll have to do this. So what I'm going to do for the shifting part of it, because it does need to shift, with this one, the output of I plus 1 needs to equal 0. Right? Then we add in that second if statement. That will handle the rest of it. But I'm going to just test it with this. World, or, hello world. Or actually... which returns the 216 and it switches that out for 0. And then as it parses through, if it returns a 0 on those, it needs to handle that as well. So it works with hello, but it doesn't work with world. That's weird. It's okay though. I'm sure I can fix it. So we'll create another if statement that handles that. Copy. Paste. Then we have to move the right line to outside of this, but for now, equals 0. I don't think there will be any zeros. I'm not sure which UTF-8 code corresponds with 0. I could have said like a different integer, but I'm choosing 0. Now the problem is that this will be sliding, so if you had 2 sets of double letters, right next to each other, it can't handle that. So it might just explode or some weird shit's gonna happen. Then move the next one over equals output plus 1 and output plus 1 equals 0. And that will handle the sliding portion of it. And then it needs to check the output minus 1. I think it needs to do that as well. In this case here, it needs to check if the output minus 1, but then it needs to put it back in there. So then I need it to immediately after that check. Bro, if I start nesting my if statements, I'm gonna die. I'm literally gonna die from that. We're gonna just cut this one, and then put that at the end of the for loop. And then after that, we should have pretty much most of what we need. Reason being is that, alright, then we should be good, and then we just gotta work on the threading portion. Hello world. It returned that. Returns that for that one. Goes through the whole thing, but it got rid of the 216. So if I equals 0, then boom, it just got rid of the fucking... What? What the fuck? Wait, is this if I plus 1 equals... So if output I equals 0, output I equals output I plus 1. So then here it goes 104. So here it catches the 108, then it creates a 216. Catches the 0, and then it moves the 111 down. And it catches the 11. Well, it doesn't catch the 11. Or wait, no, then there's two 111s. And it pairs those because it duplicated them. And it doesn't set the output of I plus 1 to 0. So it's not really sliding in that case. It's doing it weird. So that's why it wasn't working. Alright, try that again. dmd.host.v/host. Hello world. There we go. That's the expected result. Wait. What the fuck is it doing with hello? Where's the 216 at? Where'd the 216? 216 left and came back. What have we done? That ain't right. Well, it is doing kind of what it's supposed to do. It reaches the... Oh, this one's the ID 0, so that's the first one. And then the second one, I think it's failing. No longer is it failing at the array. So it's getting through both of them. Right? Because it should be... This is hello world. So, or this is hello. So H-E-L-L-O. And then it gets to this one. Checks this one. H-E-L-L-O. Gets this one. H-E-double-L. 0. Checks that. Boom. Next one. Gets through that. Boom. That should be correct. And it should be just setting that last one to 0 because that will be the finish of finalizing or finishing execution of the program. So that will be after that. It wouldn't show the result unless it's... Well, it should show the result. Shouldn't it? Shouldn't it actually show the result? Because if we put this out of the for loop, that's what it is. That's why it's not returning an expected value. Or control V. Yep. So it's not returning the expected value because it's not in the loop. Boom. Alright. That solves 90% of my issues. Now I just gotta figure out how to make it work better on the other part. Probably something to do with immutability. There we go. That's the expected results, except the first one's wrong. Reason that first one's wrong is because it's not completing the execution of the program. If it can't do the output of I plus 1, oh, it's exceeding the actual array value. So it doesn't make it to the send portion. What's going on there is that then we could try putting cast's output in here instead of result. Alright, just to simplify that. That shouldn't be hard, it should be pretty easy. Alright, we figured out what's wrong with it. Output I plus 1. Output I plus 1 is equal to 0. Solving the issue. Alright. The numbers and math have been mathed. I'm just thinking in my head. So if the end equals 0, then we'll do an else check. So we'll put an else if, and then do both if. Oh, actually, yeah, we'll do that. Technically, these should just all be else ifs. Well, this one has to be an if statement, so I think it has to be an if for this one. If 0, or actually, if output equals 0, and then we need to do an AND operator. It's been a while since I've done this with if statements. And just put in the AND operator, and then check for the end. Does not equal the count, so the I plus 1. So if we are not exceeding the count, this should handle that. But if that is true, then we should handle that as well in the other statement. So it should also be an AND statement. So then it does equal, and then put in our next one, which is going to be output or yeah, we'll switch it down to output dot length minus equals 1. Pretty sure that will work. So that will shrink the length of the array, and then it will just gotta plus equals 1. Oh shit, I meant to put equal 1. Oops. Good thing the shit handles it for me. Bro, that'd be cool if I built my own compiler and it didn't even care if you had the right syntax and it just fucking did it anyway. Then you have like a fucking program that doesn't work. Oops. Hello world. It doesn't work. God damn it. So I think my checks are wrong. So when I do the checks for it, running the checks for the length of it, I plus 1 of the last one is the length. So it should be equals equals in both cases. Oh, but this should be a does not equal, and it shouldn't be a plus 1. It should just be an equals I. So that way we check that the const or the value of that length is yeah, that should work this time. Which should have shrunk it down, but it didn't. The alternative to this is that we destroy any instances of 0. So actually, this would be easier to implement, but technically, removing all of this is a potential thing. For example, this case. here, remove all of that. What we can do is that goes to there, that goes to this one. Are all of them handled or no? What's this shit? Order. Right, I'm pretty sure I know what that's from. Then that should fix the end of file. Yeah. So then this is just, what it needs to do is not even bother checking that shit. So let's get rid of all the checks and stuff. Don't need to check any of that, really. Only check we need is this one, and then the rest is pretty self-explanatory. But we'll take the same code we use in the delimiter, or in this one, token splitter. We'll just copy that to there. Yeah. So input splitter uses a delimiter to find values. And that's in standard algorithm splitter, so that should work with a regular normal integer. Boom. Tab, tab, then tab. Oh, hit enter there. And enter there. So the reason that's going to work is because... Now you still have to auto the result, but it should no longer need to have a return output. We also can't use auto output for that, so we're going to have to do output that splitter. So I guess that would work, I suppose. Alright. Yes. Wait. Ah, shit. Int array. Damn it. We'll just put it as result. But that won't work either. Output clean. Which isn't used anywhere. We're gonna go ahead and put in the 0. This is the most spaghetti code I think I've ever written. Goddamn. Copy output clean to each of these. Paste it. Paste it. Now it creates the immutable output clean, which then casts into there, which I don't think we need to do. Damn! Array splitter output of type int to int array. Oh, so it's on host D46. 24. Declare here. Auto output equals. What the fuck? Why is it saying output equals output? Wait, that's on 24? Bro, what if it finally is like, you have a problem? So on 46? Output clean equals output splitter 0, which is the delimiter dot array. And then it's having a problem converting it to maybe it needs to auto it. Auto that? I guess maybe? Of type int. So it says output clean dot splitter dot array. Then it continues down. Output clean, can't use those because they're not defined. And then it gets to the main one. Oh wait, that's in the previous one. Here it says undefined identifier output clean. So that's not defined, I guess? Is it misspelled, potentially? It is used in all of those places. Suspicious unused variable output clean, the variable output clean inside the if statement scope. Am I? No, it's outside of the if. It's in the for loop. Right. It doesn't need to be in the if. Wait. Let's declare it outside of the for loop. Right. Oh, wait a second. I just realized. That is the part of the problem. So, to make it actually work, put output clean here. Boom. Boom. Yeah, that's a good point. Thank you for catching that for me. I wouldn't have caught that probably. Would have been like, we need to just do it a different way. Cannot implicitly convert expression cast immutable. Which I don't know why it's trying to say that that's what it is. Declare it first outside, then set the inside for. Also, I think we can get rid of the dot array portion maybe? No, we don't need to do that. We can do it at the end. It's just the thing that happens at the end. Okay, so those are undefined. Wait, how are they undefined still? We have it right here. It's because it's not defined int? Array maybe? Still undefined. Cannot implicitly... Oh, right. To make that into a result that we can use, we have to do array. No, I'm using it outside of it now. The for loop is no longer in the equation for this. The for loop, so there's scopes around these for loops to keep like some stuff contained. Actually, this one doesn't even need it anymore. But this one still does. This is a for each, but you can't, for some reason, this one doesn't handle the I. So I could technically take those away and then make it easier. But I think you just need to, I just need to declare the output clean on its own. But it wants to return a struct. I don't know if the splitter will work with this. It should work. So it's undefined. How is it undefined? Maybe it just is that it's... Yes, but you're using output clean in the right line of 46 when it is declared after the... Oh shit! My brain cells. This is okay. Output. Right, that explains why my brain is fried. We'll change that back to output clean. Good catch. Yet another good catch. It would have taken me like 2 hours to figure that out. God damn. Int array. That explains why there was only one thing that was causing issues before. I think we can get rid of the original declaration of that. How's this do? Alright, then we just have one more thing to solve. Int. So it wants to convert int? What? Because I guess putting an array at the end makes it into that? What? But then it wants result. So then the result is an integer array of arrays? It creates an array of array. Then, in this case, type result to int. So it needs to be done differently. I mean, I suppose we could just cast it if it... You can't make an auto array. Bro, what the fuck am I doing? Auto array. Alright, so it wants to put it as result now. Yeah, it returns an array of arrays, which is weird. I guess maybe this will create what we're looking for. Then it does it again. We could... Oh, I have an idea. Append to output clean, right? The output clean dot array. Append this. We need to cast it to an array. It makes an array of arrays for whatever fucking reason that is. And then we have int array output clean tab enter. Put a semicolon there. Control S. See if that does it. Cannot append type result to int. And it's still a result, but you can only turn it into an array by doing dot array. And if I wanted a dot array, then it creates an int array. So then if I want to take the result, I need to create this somewhere else and cast it to that. I think. So I think I'll need to auto, or maybe I could cast it there and just do like cast as an int array. All right, that should work. That should be simple enough, I think. Cannot append type int array. Why the fuck is it making an int array? Bro, this shit's so terrible. Why did I decide to do zeros? I could have just done it with logic. Like the output splitter. But that would remove what we're looking for. What other things are there in standard algorithm? Because that output splitter removes... Oh. Do you know what it is? Maybe it's I'm using it wrong. Let's see. Standard algorithm, the programming language. Remove. So that removes that element. Remove. Moving strategy. Well, we'll have to use these. Could technically iterate over the range and then try to remove all of the zero that it could potentially make. But iteration. Where's the splitter? Splitter should be in there. Sorting. Ah, splitter. Splitter's in this section. Searching. Find next element. Skip over. Whoa. Count. Move in place all. Remove. Is there like a remove all? Wait a second. I wonder if all of the merging can be done using this program. Or using some stuff from standard algorithm. I bet we could simplify the code a lot more with this. I just gotta learn standard algorithm, I think. But there's not a splitter in this. What? I swear there's no splitter. Control F, splitter. Splitter right there. Ah, it splits the array at any zeros, I think. Okay, so how do I remove any splitters? How do I... How to make dlang remove 0 from an array? We'll just fucking see if the answer is here. Remove function with this function modifies the array in place by shifting all elements to fill gaps, reducing any length. Standard algorithm dot mutation. Remove elements where the value is 0. So then you would just do a for each loop that, or no. Oh, remove elements where it's at 0. Okay. Perfect. Standard algorithm, and then we would also need standard algorithm dot mutation. God damn it. So much more extra shit to add into my program. Dot mutation. Semicolon. Damn, that looks hard. Yeah, my brain is hurting. Dot mutation, maybe? Pretty sure dot mutation's wrong. I'm just gonna give it a solid guess and say that that's probably incorrect. What it's saying to do then is to try to, instead of doing all of this extra nonsense with all of this splitter, because splitter just makes multiple, that's why I used it for the word, I guess. But output clean is going to be an int array, and it's going to equal clean equals, and then we're going to create this as an int array. Equals, and it looks like it was just as simple as, or actually we could just do output and then remove it all. Oh. So then why not just do output equals remove. Remove, then, what does it say? To do like A to A equals 0. Remove all elements where the value is 0. Swap strategies. Dot stable is default, preserving relative order. So then I just do that, I guess. Yeah, hopefully that's correct. I'm not gonna think too much about it and verify that it's correct, which is probably the wrong answer. Definitely the wrong answer. Output. So yeah, usually verify that, but it's better than my other setup or other system that I use. Alright, we just need to switch these out for output. No longer do we need to worry about that being a problem. That should give us compiles. No. Alright, so unfortunately it exited with status 1. So that's unfortunate. Invalid size. Free invalid size. Fatal error. LD terminated with signal 6. Aborted. Core dumped. Is it compilation error? I'm guessing the compiler just has too much to compile, maybe? Free invalid size. What does that mean? What does this mean? I'm just gonna Control C. Oh shit. Yeah, do that. And then throw it to the AI to solve the problem for me. God damn it, this is hurting my brain. Paste it in there. Caveman brain. Throw it the exception, see what it figures out. LD terminates indicates a heap corruption occurring during during program shutdown or dynamic library cleanup. Oh, that's so irrelevant. Okay, never mind. Maybe that probably has to do with that we've exceeded a limit that. Oh, what the hell? It lets me do it now. I don't know why that happens. Oh, right, /host. Wait, it works. Wait, no it doesn't. Oh yeah, it works now. So we've gotten that hello to become a 216 at grok what? Bro, it was, I don't know what fucking happened. Maybe my, like, when it was compiling, it caught a system error. Because this system does have, like, something wrong with the drive or something. Or potentially with the RAM itself. So, but for the most part, it's gone away because I don't know if it's failing, though. It's, people say it might be failing, and I'm kind of on the hopeful side and saying, no, it's not failing. I have Arch Linux on it, it won't fail. But potentially it could be something like that, like an issue with like a leak or something like that, memory leak or something. I don't see anything really interesting though. There's no swap 13% used, which is strange for not having much going on, but I guess we were, couldn't be much. Definitely no issues, guys, totally. But yeah, could also be a failing SSD or something, or RAM, something with the hardware. Oh wow, 10 watts of power, holy shit. But at least we made some good progress. We still haven't fixed the issue with that. I don't know if I'm gonna give it like 5 more minutes to figure out that issue, and then we'll call it for today. But it should just be the fact that it needs to send a result that's immutable. It has to be immutable, has to send it to there. So when it gets to result or send portion, does it send and then receive it? But it's not able to receive it because the result isn't immutable. Maybe that's it? It needs to both receive and send an immutable result? Okay, lets me do it. Okay, I guess it's just that it has too many. It just gives up after a little bit. I bet GDC would be fine with this. Or GDC would fucking explode. I think I just have too much going on in my program. And need to reduce the size significantly. For example, the standard.mutation could become remove. And since that's the only one I'm using there, we should use that. So let's try that again afterwards. Okay, that didn't work. But this should help it not... Yeah, that caused it not to fail. Well, it fails and then it picks up where it left off and works. And I think the reason D doesn't, like... So it creates an O file, right? So it creates the host.o. That's your file where you can... that's pretty much your, like, halfway assembled... Or, actually, it is... It's an object file, okay? So then you can create another object file in assembly or, like, C or something and shove that in there, technically, and it could be possible to use them together. If you compile your C to, like, assembly and then compile your C to an O file, I think you can technically just put C right into D-Lang. Or, like, there might be some limitations with that, but I think that'd be horribly inefficient. I have played around with putting assembly into my D code, and I only spent like a few days messing around with that. It's pretty interesting to do just to see the process of how you could implement assembly into it, but I don't really see the need to. I think D is a pretty good language as is, and I don't need to really make new functions. Right, so it's not, they're not sending back the data or sending back the results. I suppose it's probably this. Maybe that's it? What if it needs to be that? Right? That'll do it. Nope. Alright, so they're trying to send back their all of that, but they can't send it back. What are they missing? So do they have, what if we just do a write line that has all that information on there? Yeah, we'll do a write line to verify this information. That's a good way of debugging it. It should also reveal a lot about what's going on there. Alright, so it has the TID for the parent on both of those. But then it's not got, it does have that. It has the IDs and it has the values. It's an exception within the actual, which I need to learn how to debug threads. And there is a section in the book on that. So yeah, I'll probably work on this more later and then we'll figure out what we'll do next episode. Probably gonna be working on this again because I've just been working on this a lot. So I'd like to thank you all for watching. I'll see you all next time and goodbye.